Hello and welcome to BlueVenn's webinar, Optimizing Customer Journeys with American Automobile Association. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. My name is Andrew Smith. I'm Sales Director here at BlueVenn. I will be introducing the presentation, and Terry Chegwin, who is Insights and Analytics Manager at AAA, will be joining me and presenting most of the content. If you've attended our webinars before, you'll know that you can ask questions throughout the presentation utilizing the BrightTalk software, and there is a box that you should be able to see on your screen, and feel free to ask any questions at any time and we'll get to them at the end. It's also important to know that we are recording the broadcast, so you will be emailed a link to the recording and any resources very shortly after the presentation, certainly within the next 24 hours, so please keep an eye out for that. So to start out, for those of you who might be familiar with BlueVenn, I want to present where we see ourselves sitting in the marketing ecosystem, and then Terry will present to you on how AAA is optimizing customer journeys in part through their relationship with BlueVenn. So as we look at any of the organizations that we work with, we have a marketing organization and their customers and how they want to interact with each other. And starting out, what happens is customers visit stores, they visit websites, they send emails, they make calls to customer service lines, and in doing all of these different things, they generate data, which in many instances is siloed and not brought together in any cohesive way. And so what we do here at BlueVenn is we have a services and technology that brings together all of these different disparate data sources into what we call a single customer view process, to provide the ability for the marketer to see their customers across all of these disparate data points. From there, what can happen is you can enhance the data with things like demographic information, any other third-party data. And really what this does is kind of completes the picture, adds color to what the marketer can see about their customers. And so getting all of this different information really gives them a complete view of their individual customers and their customers overall. From there, from there, once all of this data is brought together and the marketers have this view of their customers, they are then able to do analytics on it to understand who their best customers are, who their most valuable customers are, where they're getting the most ROI for their marketing dollars, and then also to be able to go out and look for new customers who maybe look like their best customers to then continue to build their customer base. From there, the organization, the marketer, can then segment and target particular audiences. So as they think about how different customer sets will be interested in their products and interested in certain messages, they're able to do segmentation and targeting from there. They can then, from there, start building journeys for those customers. So based on what they want to get to to certain customers at certain times, they're able to build journeys which can occur in any channel. So any channel being email, social media, SMS text, telemarketing, direct mail, whatever the marketer feels is the most important way to drive that customer journey. From there, they can build those communications and engagements for their customers to then be able to get the right message to the right customer at the right time. One other aspect that that kind of completes the full loop between the marketer and the customer. But one other aspect that we want to talk about today is also some of the real-time behavioral trigger intervention that an organization can have as a result of some of the technology that BlueVenn can provide. So as we look at this overall, what we refer to as the galaxy, on the lower part here of this scheme, you see the single customer view, which is really around services. There is some technology involved. And on the top portion is our marketing automation platform. And this is really the area that Terry's going to focus on today in our presentation, to be able to talk about the marketing automation and how AAA is utilizing that in their marketing ecosystem. So that's as much as I wanted to tell you about BlueVenn and where we sit. And so from here, Terry, I'll turn it over to you, and the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that introduction. Hello to all listeners today, and I want to thank you all for joining as well. So as Andrew and I and Jennifer have been talking about customer journeys over the last few weeks, something kind of came up on its own for us. So I thought I'd start off my slides with a little journey that we called Hurricane Matthew. Some of you might have heard this in the news recently. So from our journey perspective, you board up your windows, get extra provisions, pray the power doesn't stay off very long because we have 100% humidity and it's just hot here in Florida, and we hope for the best. From a visual, you can see, well, you can't really see much of Florida, but I put a little arrow there so you can kind of get a sense of where my home was and why we're probably all a little concerned about what our journey was going to look like. So, moving forward, however, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, my journey ended up with a broken fence taken out, by all things, a papaya tree from my neighbor. So I think the point of this is you don't always get to pick your journey, but you prepare and respond as you need to. It's not altogether different than a marketing campaign. And that will kind of segue us right in here. So before I get into sort of the heart of the presentation, I would like to just take a few minutes and talk about AAA. So the American Automobile Association is a federation of clubs in both the United States and Canada that provides member benefits. The one that people here might be most familiar with, if you're familiar with AAA, is our roadside assistance when your vehicle breaks down. But in addition to that, AAA provides member benefits that cover a wide array of other verticals that include auto travel planning and assistance, financial services, travel agency services, and insurance services. So as you can imagine, as a AAA club marketing department is putting together their strategy and plans, they have a lot of work to do as they determine messaging, timing, channels, on how they're going to talk with their members. All right. So that was an explanation of AAA. Now let me just spend a few minutes explaining the e-Business Action Center that I'm a part of here at AAA. Our department was originally created in 1998 to serve as a service bureau to support AAA club data needs. At the time, for many clubs, if they needed an audience for a marketing campaign, they might need to go to their IT group and ask them to pull that data for them. Of course, some of the struggles that might come with that is they may get the data back to them by the time their marketing campaign was due, or they may not. So the original goal of the Action Center was really to work with clubs that needed our services to build database technology for marketing departments, which would enable them to explore their own data and make audience selections. Our model today in the Action Center, AAA National, allows clubs to use or not use the services that we provide. But we do support today over 50 plus clubs and partners, AAA partners, and we have over 30 people dedicated to delivering marketing and business intelligence expertise in our department. Excuse me. All right. So we roll up our services in the Action Center up into six main categories. The first of which is analytic platforms. For example, that's one of the things we'll be talking about today, the BlueVenn marketing platform, and how we utilize that and how clubs utilize that. And then also business intelligence platforms. I'll talk a little bit about how we're utilizing Tableau today. Data enhancements, which reflect the amount of effort that we spend in data preparation for both club and third-party data to be leveraged within the BlueVenn marketing platform. And advanced analytics, our advanced analytics team focuses on things like building models that do predictive analysis for things like travel buying or membership renewal and others, risk of flight. Our digital marketing team focuses on search engine marketing, remarketing, keyword optimization. Our e-marketing group works with clubs that around their e-marketing, SMS, push programs. And then finally social, where we help clubs manage and improve their online reputation, not just in the traditional area of Facebook, Twitter, and those types of areas, but also within local search We are a brick and mortar organization, so how do we support that? So these are the 6 sort of key areas that the Action Center rolls up in how we support AAA clubs today within the AAA National Office. Let's go to this next slide here. Here we go. But all in all, in the end, what the Action Center aims to do for clubs is to bring an integrated suite of options that can help a club essentially create stronger relationships with their members. And so you see a list of areas here really in which services that we can help a club with, and I won't spend a lot of time with that. But in a lot of ways, in some ways, we still find ourselves to be a siloed operation. You've probably seen slides like this in the past that really kind of describe direct mail, email, SMS, digital, and you could probably continue to put more on there. And some of this has to do actually with the way that we're structured, having separate teams that perform these functions. As well as, by the way, because systems aren't necessarily integrated, it really can be challenging to break down some of these silos. Our desire, as we look at this, would be to offer solutions to clubs where any marketer within a club could use the same data and build campaigns from one place. And we'll talk a little bit about sort of the transformation that we'd like to see, even here within the Action Center, about how we can accomplish that, and we'll see that a little bit later. All right. So, today, how are we using the BlueVenn marketing platform? Well, we use the Blue Analyzer customer analytics tool, and for us, this has really been transformative. You'll hear me use words like game changers at some point. But it's really been transformative for our business. It allows us, and the way we're using it is to load all of our club member and prospect data, again for clubs that subscribe to our services. It allows us to load all that data, member transactions, third-party data, predictive models designed by our teams, as well as other types of data into this database, allowing clubs to interact with that and engage with their data. Unlike many tools, however, the ability to use train-of-thought data exploration has become a key distinctive part of using this tool. The ability to perform, for example, geospatial analysis on the fly using drag and drop technology has absolutely been a key to how clubs are interacting with that. The idea of being able to pull specific points off of that geospatial map to develop a new audience is an enormous win for our clubs. We might choose, for example, to use a Venn diagram to illustrate our most loyal customers, and maybe that's the audience that we're looking for, or frankly, as we're using that Venn diagram, we may choose to pull out another section of that Venn diagram that we might use to build a stronger member engagement plan where loyalty isn't as strong. So this idea of train of thought really has been a game changer for us. And what excites me as we start looking at the full marketing platform that BlueVenn is really moving toward here is that they're continuing with that and have even integrated that within the web-based technology. So the train of thought analysis is really crucial to the way that we look at our data. We're also using the profiling features of Blue Analyzer to build member profiles around our key products and services. And going back to integration, the way some of our clubs are actually using Blue Analyzer is also as their platform to develop their offline and online campaigns. So as we talk about how do we start breaking down those silos, this is some of the way that we're really beginning to see that. But the component that we're still missing, or that we've been missing in all of this, is really the ability to respond to real-time events and developing omni-channel marketing automation for campaigns. All right. So Andrew already spent some time talking about the BlueVenn Galaxy, so I'm not going to rehash all of that. But when we look at this and we compare what we do today to where we want to be tomorrow, specifically relates to the real-time behavioral triggers. And Andrew did a great job talking about that, but also customer engagement through journey automation. Using real-time integration with other platforms like email, we believe that this is really, once again, going to transform our marketing efforts with the ultimate goal, again, of building stronger member engagement strategies. So, but before we look into the BlueVenn marketing platform, I want to just share an example of how we already do look at member experiences and respond to real-time events that are happening with our members. In this example, I want to take a member who tries to start their vehicle and essentially finds their battery has died. And so maybe they find a banner ad like this, or they just simply call AAA finding out that we have AAA mobile battery service. There we go. So at that point, they call AAA, who comes out, completes a battery diagnostic indicating the health of the battery. If the battery needs to be replaced, the driver at that point may offer to replace it on the spot using a AAA guaranteed battery. However, the member may choose not to do that, and they may choose instead to get a jump start. Well, in that event, for clubs that have this process in place, that member may receive an email within an hour thanking them for using AAA and reminding them that they could actually purchase a battery through AAA, even allowing them potentially to schedule a call or schedule someone to come to them at their location. And this is an example of how today we're using real-time member engagement to talk to our members, and this is an automated method, but we really want to go further than that. And we want to actually produce cross-channel campaigns that focus on member journeys and help us to react to member responses along the way. So the next few slides is likely going to be information that you've already seen through various other BlueVenn webinars. So I'm not going to dwell on them for very long or even try to describe them better than BlueVenn. But I think that they help to illustrate what we're trying to do here at AAA. What I think is important about this particular slide is that we can use the BlueVenn marketing platform to accomplish most of our needs from a marketer perspective. We may use other tools for data prep and modeling, but we load all of that data into the platform for analytics and campaigning. The platform, the BlueVenn marketing platform, is evolving to be an omni-channel one, which is quickly becoming a key requirement for our forward-looking marketing strategies. Being browser-based, for example, modernizes the tool and allows an easier adoption for those not wishing to be stuck with a client-based tool, including, by the way, the ability to access and use that platform from multiple devices like tablets, as an example. Finally, the ability to connect, or the way I put it is to listen, for the platform to be able to listen to other databases gives us much more flexibility to react to real-time member events. So today, email reporting is mainly done from our email platform. So if you want to see how well an email campaign performed, that's where you go. In the future, however, we anticipate that email marketers would have the ability to track and measure email performance directly within the BlueVenn marketing platform. This also gives us the ability to start looking at how our teams are set up and understand how to better integrate traditional marketing teams with e-marketing. So this tool essentially, and kind of what we're seeing right here, gives us a common platform for marketers in our environment to work together in. Again, the way we look at this is these are silos that are becoming broken down as teams start to work more closely together. Just to be clear, the slide that you're looking at right now is not a AAA campaign. I have shamelessly borrowed it from images of BlueVenn, but it does illustrate how we will be able to build an audience and then determine how to take a customer through a journey of activities and responses. It becomes the classic sort of if-then scenario, if you will, that allows us to automate reactions to how members are responding or even not responding to our communications. Because this is omni-channel, it really creates the optimal marketing automation solution. And while there is a learning curve that's involved in this, building a campaign is guided and follows a very similar path to the way that our users do things today. So that said, building some of the larger multi-step, multi-channel campaigns are going to take a bit more thinking through and in how to develop them. But we also look at this as a very good thing. So maybe it takes a little bit longer to create a campaign, but we think it's important to thoroughly think through every campaign to make sure that it's actually doing what you desire it to do. So we really do think from a paradigm shift here of, how do I quickly put campaigns together for a one-time marketing effort to now looking at this as perhaps a constantly running journey that we really need to be aware of what's happening and how it's impacting other campaigns that we might be running. So this is the extra time that I think that we're going to spend strategically on this is really going to pay off tremendously for us. And speaking of functionality that we care a great deal about, I'm not going to dwell on this a whole lot, but this is the example of the RFV, which is the Recency Frequency Value tool that's being offered through the platform. For those of you not familiar with this, this gives us the ability to see which members have transacted recently, which for us kind of demonstrates relevancy. How often are they transacting, so we understand the value of conducting business with AAA, and how much they spend, the value of their transactions. So all of this really at the end of the day allows us to determine what we might use as our most valuable customers, or also to identify people that we would like to move into tiers of value as well. So it really gives us a much cleaner understanding of that, and that tool is built directly within the platform. And finally, this is something that we're really excited to learn. Within the BlueVenn Analyzer tool, reporting, it really is an analysis tool. So from a reporting perspective, there really wasn't a very clean, easy way for us to be able to develop reporting. What I'm excited about within the BlueVenn marketing platform is we now have the ability to leverage an existing infrastructure within the Tableau world, as an example, and be able to build those dashboards, or at least share those dashboards within the BlueVenn marketing platform tool itself, as well as being able to connect directly to that data. So now, for example, some of the things that we're thinking about doing with this are building out specific campaign evaluation dashboards, allowing users to be able to drill down on campaigns, and essentially at the end of the day to be able to understand their data better from a campaign perspective, to be able to understand what went right, what didn't go right, how did it live up to your measures. So this is something that we're very excited to be able to have all encompassed in one tool. And the ability for us to be able to measure cross-platform in this as well. So my traditional mail, my e-marketing, and even from our perspective to be able to add digital marketing from other data sources all in one location from a marketing perspective makes a lot of sense for us. So you might ask then, what kind of member journey is AAA really trying to create? For us, one example could be around vacation planning. We might start by looking at people that are most likely to purchase a cruise, and then use a direct mail travel offer to start off that journey. As a follow-up to that piece, we might wait a week and then send an automated email with the same offer. This would help to develop a sense of continuity and a seamlessness for our members. At that point, we'd likely wait to see how people responded to both our email and direct mail. From the email perspective, we could listen, again, I like that word listen, for opening clicks and conversions. Using that data, we could choose at that point to take some of those people and actually move them into a CRM or a lead management tool for travel agents to reach out to. At that point, we may consider these as qualified, maybe hot leads, so that when a travel agent is reaching out to them, it's also not anything new to that member, particularly if they've already opened or clicked on an email within that. So that's something that's exciting for us. And just as before, we allow the system to listen to how the lead is resolved, potentially within a lead management solution, and then continue on or end the journey as needed. But this is an example of what we would call an omni-channel, multi-step solution. And what's key for us within here is that it doesn't take a person to be sitting there monitoring that direct mail campaign and saying, okay, at this point I'm going to send out the email. It's all coordinated and collaborated. And then in addition to that, if I'm saying, now let me listen to the open and click resolutions, the system can do that automatically for us and respond to that in the way that we see fit. Now, some of this may be some longer-term some things, but this is a sample journey that has kind of come to mind for some of us as a way that we might be able to leverage that. And this is the kind of thing that gets us very excited. Again, allowing the computer to be able to do this and monitoring each step along the way, but not having to actively participate in that. All right. So where are we today? Just so we're in full transparency here, the Action Center AAA National is currently in the process of implementing the version 2 of the BlueVenn marketing platform. And so we're in that process right now. We're setting up the integration to our email platform, building all the infrastructure necessary to collect that open click data so we can decision new paths in the journeys, make sure that we can send emails correctly and consistently from the platform. What are some of our plans from this? Well, again, we're going to utilize the RFD module to build strong audiences. We're going to develop the omni-channel member journeys that focus on engagement, and just exactly how we kind of want to build some of those and who are the people that we need to talk to at the clubs in order to make that happen. And then continue to understand the Tableau integration and how do we need to build dashboards and connect to the data along the way. So where do we go from here? For us, one of the next things as we start continuing to build sort of this closed-loop marketing strategy, and I really like the idea of the BlueVenn Galaxy and the way that they built that out, is to continue down the path of saying, what about our websites? And how do we use the rich data that we have built up in the BlueVenn marketing platform to also understand and better deliver messages across our website that people are coming to? So for our purposes, we really kind of want to start looking at BlueVenn real-time marketing here from a website personalization. I think the BlueVenn or Blue Relevance technology. And for us, again, this is about website personalization. We like the idea of the Amazon approach, if you will, so that when you come, the more that you come, the more it learns about you, the more it understands how best to present options to you. And so we want, when a person comes to our website, that it really can start delivering the content as quickly as possible to that member. And part of the way for us to accomplish that is to integrate it directly with the data that we have about our members, so that when a member does log in, we can actually start using intelligent data that we've collected and that they've provided to us in order to do that. And obviously, the more data that they provide to us from their behavior on the website, adding that back into the data warehouse as well. So from that, then, being able to really provide predictive intelligence that we can make offers off of. So now we can really provide, and in fact, I think one of the things that we appreciated from some of the work that we've done learning about this is areas like coupons, for example, and the idea that I don't necessarily want to offer a coupon to the whole world. I want to offer a coupon to this particular member, and being able to control that so that it can't be duplicated or replicated many times is really an important piece for us. And so that's something that's kind of very exciting to us. The idea that it's integrated directly with our email technology as well gives us the ability to say, now if somebody is buying something or behaves a certain way, then we have the ability to send them an email. So here I'm using the example of cart abandonment. And then lastly, and I think, again, amazingly important part for us is to say, how do we tie that website behavior back to the customer record so that as we start developing more and more campaigns, we now have more and more behavior that we can add to that. And so I think this is going to be someplace, not sure when we'll start looking at this here over the course of 2017, but this is going to be a very important part of what we're looking for. So with that said, Andrew, I'm going to turn this back over to you, and I think I'm done with my part there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Terry. Much appreciated. Just for the audience, that concludes the presentation portion of the webinar, but we will be taking a few questions. We hope you found the presentation beneficial, and as a reminder, you'll be receiving a link to the recording of the presentation by email. So anyone who may have entered late, you don't have to worry. You'll have the chance to catch up on anything you may have missed. So at this point, we're ready to answer some questions. Thank you to everyone who has submitted a question, and if you haven't, there's still time. Any questions that we don't manage to cover during the webinar will be answered directly via email after the webinar offline. So we have a couple of questions here for you, Terry, if you're good to go.
Okay.
So as you make decisions about how to build the journeys, who is involved from a business decision-making standpoint?
That's a great question. You know, I think I mentioned it earlier that as we start building out some of these journeys, it's a little bit of a different strategy than it is for some of the traditional campaigns that clubs maybe have been working on in the past. So in this particular case, some of the ways that we're really looking at this is how do we bring in the right players to ensure that we're doing the right thing. So at the very least, obviously the marketing group is going to be part of that, but I think also bringing in some of the business lines within AAA and some of the key stakeholders within those to participate in the discussion is going to be really key. You know, we start looking at things now at how are we looking at a contact strategy? How are we enforcing that contact strategy within this? So it really is a different ballgame, and I think that, you know, when the other component of that obviously is as this is an omni-channel approach to our campaigns, it's important for us to bring in the key stakeholders from those different areas as well. And I think, you know, from our perspective, that's one of the ways that we're looking at it, as this is now sort of breaking down those silos, because we have the key stakeholders from the different areas, not just the business lines, but also from the channels themselves, talking to each other about commonalities within the same campaigns and that continuity. So, you know, we're really looking at this as in a very strategic way, saying, let's understand what you're trying to do at a club and understand how to build a journey around that and bring in the key people, whether it's from the business line or the marketers, or at the very least from the different channels, on how we're going to accomplish that. So like I said, I think that there's going to be a little bit of a larger learning curve just from the beginning because of the strategy, but I think at the end of the day, clubs are really going to win big as a result of that extra effort.
Excellent, thanks. And another question, and it seems like the organizational questions are some of the tougher things that companies wrestle with as opposed to kind of the technology or the strategy. But you talked about silos within your organization. How did you overcome organizational issues to break down those silos?
The easy answer to that is we haven't yet. You know, I think this is an area that, you know, for one thing, it's easy for me to sit here and preach about it. It's another thing for an organization like a club to say, you know what, we're going to actually commit to this, and we're going to really make this happen. But here's some of the ways that I think that we're starting to look at this, and I think that we'll make some headway. From a platform perspective, particularly on an email side, and let's even add the SMS side to that as well. What we have the ability to do now is to leverage the skill sets of both in a single platform. So as a result of that, even within our own organization here within the Action Center, what we're going to see in a paradigm shift is more and more of our marketers that have been more on the traditional side, the direct mail side, now taking on more responsibility around the e-marketing, because in fact we have the ability to send emails or output files for direct mail and so forth within this platform. So as a result of that, I think what we're going to end up finding out is that we can start to build the similar skill sets across the board, regardless of what your current channel of operation is. The other side to that, and I think this is going to be a big win for email marketers, some clubs are already doing this well, but not all, now have the ability or will have the ability to have their data connected to all of our intelligent data in the data warehouse. So instead of just sending an email, we'll now have the ability to send that email based on data. The same way that we've been looking at traditional direct mail for so long, now we'll have that ability to do that within the e-marketing capacity as well. Some clubs are doing that, not all. I think this is an area where we really can work with clubs to be able to look at that. But, this is something I think that hopefully we'll start seeing, and I know within the Action Center we're starting to really try to feel out how to accomplish this ourselves. But I think that, we'll start seeing a blurring of responsibilities with people that we have thought for a long time were just e-marketers and other people that were just, as an example, direct mail marketers.
Excellent. Thank you. One more question. In what ways do you see campaigns becoming transformative in the future, and how will you measure success? That's always a tough one.
Well, I talk about transformative probably a few times in the presentation. For one thing, the ability for us to start looking at campaigns as a multi-step campaign as opposed to some of the single-step campaigns that we're doing today, this is really transformative. The idea that I don't have to watch necessarily or press buttons necessarily to start a campaign and have it go from sending out direct mail to email to other areas, for us, I think is extraordinarily, very much of a game changer. So I think from a campaign perspective, that's exactly one of those things. Now, how are we going to measure success? Well, I think this is one of those areas too, and I think, what a wonderful mechanism to have that Tableau infrastructure built into the marketing platform that will allow us to start building the reporting around each of those areas that'll give us insight into how well it's performing. But it will change the way that we start looking at things. Today, and we've had a lot of discussion. I think some clubs are starting to work towards this, but this is going to be the impetus, I think, to help us move forward with success on this, that says if I'm sending out an email and I'm sending out a direct mail and I'm sending out something else, do I attribute, for example, a conversion? Which one of those do I attribute the conversion to? Now maybe what we'll have the ability to do because of the journey is to attribute a certain amount of success to each one of those. Each one of those channels, each one of the steps. And I think for our purposes, that's going to be very helpful because we really will be able to say, where are we or how are we the most successful along that path, understanding that it wasn't necessarily just one thing that created that conversion. And the example, again, is the vacation planning. I sent out the direct mail piece, and then I sent out an email. If you responded to the email, it's not necessarily that it was only because of the email that you responded. It may have just been the thing that was necessary for you to say, oh, cool, now I'm going to go do something about this. So we want to be able to attribute very differently within that. And I think this is something that we're going to see that evolves over time. Exactly how do we measure? And one club may decide to look at it a little differently than another club, and that's okay. That's part of what the Action Center is here to support those clubs. So this is an exciting part for us to kind of figure out over the next few months.
It's a great point. One of the things that I've heard from other marketers is the fact that there is that error in many instances of the marketing organization attributing the last marketing touch and putting all of the reward on that. What the platform allows you to do is track all of the different ways you've touched a customer and marketed to them, and so being able to figure out what the right mix is and what's the optimal mix based on what results are, right? So that's great. Thank you, Terry, so much for your participation today and a great presentation. If you'd like to know more about BlueVenn and how it could benefit your organization, please feel free to send us an email or give us a ring on the contact details you see on the screen. We'd love to hear from you. To hear about which industry leaders are using BlueVenn services with a range of different case studies and a list of upcoming webinars, you can visit us at BlueVenn.com. Lastly, if you found the presentation useful, you can head over to our LinkedIn and Twitter pages and give us a follow. We're always posting helpful marketing ebooks and other information as part of our weekly blog. We hope you've enjoyed the webinar. That's all from us today. Have a great day, and goodbye.